Question number 3. So I've got f, which has a particular domain, and it's this rule. Find the general solutions for when it equals 0. So I want general solutions, so I need to find the general, so I have to include a k or an n. So a half tan of x plus a half equals 0. A half tan of x equals negative a half. Tan of x equals negative 1, dividing both sides by a half. Okay, so tan is negative in the second and the fourth quadrant, and in the first quadrant we're looking at pi on 4, so I'm looking at 3 pi on 4 in the second quadrant and 7 pi on 4 in the fourth quadrant, so I can say that x equals 3 pi on 4 or x equals 7 pi on 4. Now it's going to be pi n because the period of tan is pi. That's going to be plus pi n, where n is an element of all integers. You could use k instead of n if you wish. You could have had minus pi on 4 plus pi n. You could have combined them together and said plus or minus pi on 4 plus kn, or pi n, where n is an element of integers. This or this with one of those, perfectly okay. Find all the values where f of x equals g of x, where f of x is this tan function up there. Okay, so I've got the sine of x plus a half equals a half the tan of x plus a half. The halves sum to 0. I'm going to move the 2 over. 2 sine of x equals tan of x. When I've got sine and tan, turn this into sine of x on cos of x. 2 sine of x. Don't divide both sides by sine of x, you will lose answers. Move the cos of x over. 2 sine of x cos of x minus the sine of x equals 0. So rearrange, get rid of your fractions, get everything on one side, set it equal to 0, and then factorise. Sine of x, 2 cos of x minus 1 equals 0. Therefore, the sine of x equals 0, or 2 cos of x minus 1 equals 0. Okay, for the sine of x to equal 0, that happens at 0, and at pi, and at 2 pi, and at 3 pi, and at minus pi. But inside this domain, I only get one answer, x equals 0. And for the cos of x to equal, the 1 goes over and then divide by 2 a half. Cos is positive in the first and the fourth quadrant. And in the first quadrant, the x value that gives the cosine of a half is pi on 3. So I'm looking at pi on 3 or minus pi on 3 given this particular domain. So x equals 0 minus pi on 3 or pi on 3 are the answers for part B. And over the page, we're asked to draw. This has a graph of G. We're asked to add F. Well, from the last page, this is where they intersect. So I know I have an intersection point there, an intersection point there, and pi on 3, an intersection point there. It's a half tan of x plus a half. So I'll have asymptotes at x equals plus minus pi on 2. I have an asymptote here, x equals pi on 2, and an asymptote down here, x equals minus pi on 2. This point here will be 0 and 1/2. If I want to find the coordinates here, it will be pi on 3 and a half tan of pi on 3 plus a half root 3 plus a half or a half plus root 3 on 2, and this one down here will be minus pi on 3 and a half minus root 3 on 2, and my graph's going to look like and that's the graph of f of x, going through here, going through here, going through here, and having these asymptotes.